It's incredible. It's so good to be here.
Truly. I mean, wow, our fans. It's really
Yes. It's as
wow.
if you just press a button and everything works.
I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna go on a limb today.
Okay, Lim?
This might be one of the most important topics.
Yes, it is. It is so important because the more products you can display on your website that
Hmm.
match what's in your store, the better you do in organic search, the more stuff people find. And unsurprisingly, the more stuff people buy both online and in the store.
Yeah, and a
So
better experience you offer those customers
much
as well.
better, much
Yeah.
better. And we know Google watches that behavior. So when they're having a good experience, they behave such, and Google
Hmm.
rewards you for that. So we want to do maybe this turns into a bit of a series, but if you have a third party point of sale, maybe Lightspeed or Ascend or others, um, a lot of that, almost all of that activity between your point of sale and your Workstand website happens automatically, especially if you're diligent with UPC codes and you've got proper inventory receiving procedures so that when they come in, they're getting added to the correct SKU and not duplicate SKUs and all that. But most everything doesn't mean everything. And so it's important that on a regular basis, primar- uh, preferably weekly, at the very least monthly, that you're looking at the point of sale data to make sure that all the mappings are complete.
Yeah.
And there's a few parts of that. The part we're going to talk about today is pending mapping. And this part will look a little different depending on which point of sale system you use. Some of them, if you have Lightspeed, there'll only be three things here, but they all have this in common, this process items area
Hmm.
and this pending mapping section. And when these little icons are color like this versus the black and white, which this pending deletion is a legacy thing, it will never be lit up anymore. But so when this icon's in color versus black and white, it means you have pending mapping items on this report that need to be addressed. What is pending mapping, you say? Well, it's where it's not a one to one match with the UPC code that we can automatically connect and put on your website, subject to the import display rules. It's where something's off.
Hmm.
So let's start at the top. You can do this by brand, and again, always making this disclaimer: this is a test site. It's a mess. You should never have this many this many brands in this drop down. You should not have 606 pages of pending mapping. This is bad.
Hmm.
But let's say you're on light and you're really only concerned about bikes and you want to just do this by brand. You could certainly do that. You can search keywords if you're trying to find a particular one. If you do have a lot, this one to one mapping thing just shows things that only have one choice. And it's just easier to get through some of those if you have a lot. But generally, you're going to come here and see this little page and see a few items here, hopefully. Everything on the left that's in the blue heading is this the data coming from your point of sale? Everything on the right in the pinkish color is what we're trying to match it to from our library connected to your website. And the number down the middle is what we're using to make that connection. Reds are G10s or UPC codes. Oh, as the little tooltip says, that's the global trade identification number, but in the US, it's just the UPC. And black ones are manufacturer's part numbers or MPNs.
Hmm.
We never automatically map MPNs, and I'll explain that in just a second. But we generally do automatically map G10s, except when there's a multiple choice question. And so in this point of sale, there are two SKUs that are using the same UPC code. That is not correct. So this is a inventory snafu. And what you want to do is choose which one of these should I map to this one on the website side. And you can click the little link and see into it. And notice that there's one on hand, the date it was created, the price. Sometimes that helps you make a decision on which one of those should be correct. But mostly what you need to do is go back into your point of sale and correct that, merge these or delete one or correct your inventory, whatever you got to do to get this down to one. If you want to go ahead and move forward, you can check the box that's the one you're going to end up with. And then when you complete that, it'll map those two together. But right now, this item's not displaying on the website because it doesn't know which one of these SKUs from your POS data we want to use. And so that's one less opportunity to sell something.
Hmm.
And that's the primary reason we want to fix this stuff. So we can go down and make these selections and then go back to the POS system and fix it. And we can do that all the way down. When we get to these one to ones, the reason we never automatically map MPNs, and SRAM's a bit unique because you probably would never end up with a duplicate of these, but it's pretty common for companies to use very short numbers and common numbers. And
Mhm.
so in this case, there's this Alt Gear is the brand that the POS says, but it's a bike case cage mount, which is looks like a correct match to this one. But Kryptonite also uses that part number for one of their locks. And our system has no conscience.
Mhm.
If I incorrectly map this, it's going to show this picture and all this information, but it's going to use the price from the POS system. And so if this cage costs less or more than that lock, that's the price it's going to show. And that causes obviously frustration with customers. So
Mhm.
uh, go slow when you're doing these MPN mappings and be deliberate. And if you don't know or it's wrong, don't check the box.
Mhm.
So as we go through that, and we were going through here, and we would say these are all correct. Let's pretend this one's not correct, and that one's not correct, and that one's correct. This is not correct. So I've got this page all. This is done. I'm done with this one page, and again, there's lots of pages. You have to do this page at a time. I'm going to tell this to remember the unmapped and unchecked items, and don't show them to me again. And that way, these that I didn't check won't keep showing up on the report.
Mhm.
I've dealt with them. If I wasn't sure, let's say with this one, I wanted to do some research in my POS system, or I just wanted to fix. If you fix it in the POS system tomorrow, this issue will go away. It'll be a 1-to-1 UPC match, and it'll just complete. Then I
Mhm.
can leave that blank, and then maybe I don't want to complete it, so I can say ignore the unmapped ones, the unchecked ones, and show them to me again. And that way, until I fix it, it keeps showing up on the report. So in a nutshell, that's how you deal with POS sync pending mapping. And it is important because none of these things have a chance to show up if I don't complete the mappings. Some of them might not show up anyway. Maybe I don't actually have these in stock. Well, I do on that one. Maybe I don't really have them in stock. They're just in
Yeah.
there. So it wouldn't have shown up anyway, but it doesn't have any chance to show up unless you complete these mappings.
Yeah. Do we wanna talk about the kind of the common, um, pitfalls or challenges or things to look out for with certain types of items like bulk or nutrition, things like
Yeah,
that?
that's a good point. Yeah, sometimes they don't show up at all. A lot of times, nutrition's always a popular one. You
Mhm.
buy a box of gels. The box has a UPC code on it, but the individual gel packs have a different UPC on them. And depending on how you receive that inventory, we'll have both. We'll have the UPC for the box and the UPC for the individual. So sometimes you might see an item like a gel that it displays a picture of a box, but it has a price for an individual, $2.50. And that's a case where those mappings are they're incorrect because in the POS system, you're using the UPC for the individual because that's how you price them and put them on the floor. But you bought the box from the supplier, and that's the
Mhm.
UPC we're looking at. So we're showing the box picture and description, but we're using your quantity and your price for the individuals. And that's where that gets mixed up. It's hard
Mhm.
to sometimes that shows up here, but sometimes it doesn't show up until somebody's looking at the website buying a box of gels for $1.25, and then you've got to deal with it. That's a different section which we'll cover maybe tomorrow. That gets into the missing mismatch SKUs. How do we go find
Mm.
those incorrect mappings and break them and then recomplete them correctly? But we'll look at that on another day.
Cool.
Helpful, helpful, hopefully.
Helpful, helpful. Yes, please check your pending mappings.
Yes.
Highly recommend.
Highly recommend. It'll
Yeah.
make you money. So
Yes,
time
that's what
well
we
spent.
want.
And if you don't want to do it, uh, shameless plug. That is one of the key operations in our maintenance and marketing program. So if you want to
Yeah.
delegate that out, this activity and a whole bunch more for a very reasonable $159 a month currently, and if since this will be recorded, just say, well, he said it was a busy season special. I could have 25% off. Mention you saw it at the video and get 25% off
Yes,
for 4 months.
Mark
Yeah.
will honor that offer.
I will for a limited number of months, just like we do when it's an official offer. But for
Yeah.
4 months or 3 months or whatever, we'll
Mhm.
get you a little promo. It is amazing because it not only does this, it also gets fresh content on the website and checks a whole host of other things that make that experience better for users. If it's better for users, it's better for search and SEO. If it's good
Yeah.
for all that stuff, you'll sell more stuff and have more people in your store.
That's
This was
awesome.
longer than I thought it'd be.
Oopsies. Well, I asked a question and then we did a hot shameless plug.
Yes.
So here we are.
Most people probably stopped listening by now anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's dance away.
Nobody wants that from me.